and that's what they are. Here's your midsegment. It connects two midpoints. Here's the summary of what it looks like. A midsegment, I'm just summarizing what's in this blue box anyways, has two special properties. It is parallel to the base. That is one property. And it is half the base. That is the second property. Specifically for this triangle, I know that DE is parallel to BC. That's the first statement, that they're parallel to the base. That's one fact that I know. And another fact that I know, and this is probably the more useful fact as far as problem solving goes, is that DE, that's the segment, is, equal sign, half of BC. Alright, if we pretend for a minute that ADE is 70 degrees and DE is a mid-segment, can you tell me angle B? Alright, you're right, angle B, if you look, remember that mid-segment is parallel, and AB becomes a transversal, and now do you recognize those types of angles? Those types of angles are called corresponding. And what's true about corresponding angles? They're equal. So if that's 70, this is also 70. Okay? Sometimes it's hard to see, but if I'll continue to draw the lines, since these two were parallel, when I draw the lines and extend them past the triangle, now it looks like a problem we did a couple weeks ago. Okay? But sometimes they're hard to see when it's just inside the triangle. So if I gave you angle E, and again, once again, I hope you see the parallel lines and the transversal. And when you got the parallel lines and transversal, you end up being congruent with corresponding. So yes, angle C is also 45 degrees. So angle E, or excuse me, AED is 60. Angle B is 85, and I want to know angle A. Okay, so we're going to slide 85 up because they're corresponding. Those are corresponding, so I slide that up. And then you've got triangle addition, right? So you just add those up and subtract from 180. And we ended up with what angle? 35. I'll trust you on that answer. So all I've done to this problem is I've added F as the midpoint of BC, and now you can see it as a more complicated triangle. So I want you to give me some information about DE. Tell me two things about DE. Go ahead.
DE equals BF.
It does not equal... Oh, it does. I'm sorry. Yeah, that would work. That's not really what I was thinking, but you're right. It is true. Can you tell me why DE equals BF?
Because the parallel, the Z, the parallels, and the triangles are congruent.
All right. Remember, let's start here. Let's go with DE is half of BC. Okay? Let's just stick with the main part of the midsegment theorem, and that's that DE is half of BC. Now, as a result of that, you are right. DE down here does end up being the same as BF and FC. So you are right about that. And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's going to show us some things later. For example, I'm going to go ahead and mark all of those as congruent. Maybe that'll come up later. But tell me another fact about DE before we move on.
It's parallel to BC.
Okay, it is parallel to BC. So those are the two facts from the mid-segment theorem. Now talk to me about EF. Very good. Remember, EF is also, isn't it half of AD? Or AB, I mean? Yeah, EF is half of AB, and it's parallel to AB. So there's something else. It's actually another midsegment. So I can call this equal to these two, right?
All those triangles are congruent.
Ooh, almost
That's what I was
there.
gonna say.
Let's just wait half a second. You're almost there. So I've got one more. Talk to me about DF.
It's half of AC.
DF is half of AC, and DF is parallel to AC, which tells me, where did it go? DF, there we are, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now tell me something about all four of those triangles. All four triangles are congruent. Why?
The midsegment.
No.
CPT.
So you're right. All four of these triangles are congruent by side, side, side. And of course we could make that a little bit more formal. All right, very good. Can you tell me FE and can you tell me AB? What about FE?
It's 9.
Why is it 9?
Because ED is the midpoint of BC.
All right.
And if that's 18, it would end up being 9, and FE is parallel.
Okay, that's a great explanation. Those of you that were actually listening to what he had to say. That was a good explanation. And he said that that is, FE is the midpoint or the midsegment of this triangle. So he knows that if BD, I'm going to write it down algebraically. He knows that FE is half of BC. And now I have a little formula, right? So fill in what you know. FE is half of 9. No, sorry. Half of 18. And that means FE is 9. So I know some of you like having it in formula better because it's just easier to fall in. Now what about AB? I should have done all that in a different color.
That doesn't work.
I don't have
All right, let's think about, talk about AB now. You got these two, right? Which is also another midsegment, isn't it? Just from a different point of view.
Is it midsegment or midpoint?
Well, E is a midpoint. D is a midpoint. ED is a midsegment. Okay?
What's that letter between A and B? F?
I think so. All right, so ED is equal to half of AB. I know that ED is 5. How do you get AB by itself? Multiply by 2, and AB equals 10. Again, I know a lot of you are good at your algebra, so you might appreciate writing it down this way. Okay? This is simply putting a geometry statement, substituting, and then solving with algebra. That's pretty typical of how you would go through any kind of geometry problem. Talk to me about, is this special compared to this? What's it called? It's called the midsegment. So I would write that down. Since I don't have A, B's, and C's on this one, I would write down that the midsegment is, so I use the word equals, half the base, right? There's my geometry. Now substitute. What is the midsegment? 5x minus 1 equals half of 58. And now it's just algebra, right? So just solve. On a trapezoid, the midsegment, which is still connecting two midpoints, these are still midpoints here and here, it's parallel to both bases, since both bases are already parallel to each other, and it's half the sum of the bases, or you could also call that the average. So if you're more statistical, you could say it's the average. If you want a formula, you'd say it's half the sum. Okay? Half the sum. What would it look like on this specific problem? I would say that the midsegment, which is x, is half the sum of the bases. So it would be x equals half of 18 plus 48. Now remember, that really is just the average of those two. So the average of 18 and 48 is?
33.
33. I think it does end up being 66 divided by 2. So the fact is the formula, so I'm going to write that down. I'm going to put that the midsegment is half the sum of the bases. Now, of course, I know you're not going to write that down, but you could write down that 15 is half.
X plus
You got x plus 3 plus
X, 4x plus
4x plus 7. And then you just do a little simplifying. So 15 equals half of 5x plus 10. Now, at this point, if you choose to, you could definitely distribute a half. But I think a better answer. Questions? All right, let me get your work to you. It's all pretty straightforward. I don't think you're going to have any issues or any problems with it. You ever seen a Florida driver?
Hey, what time is it?
We need one more for Augusta. Did you get one?
Yeah, I got one.
How'd you get one?
Gave it to him.
You passed it. Who gave it to me?
He gave it to
Yeah,
me.
you gave it to me.
I didn't give it to you.
He gave it to
You
me. Mr. Kircher gave it to me.
Oh, yeah, he gave it to me.
I'm like, don't tell me.
Shut up.
I'm like, what? No. I'll even remember that.
I just lost my hair. I think it smells really good after I wash my hair.
All right, while you guys are working on this, I'm going to call you back, give you your progress reports. I'll need those sent home and signed and that kind of stuff.